Good afternoon, wonderful viewers, and welcome once again to the Hour Show with myself, Patricia, and my co-host, Lawyer Andy. Today, we're very lucky to have in our midst two prominent pastors, and we will be discussing some of the issues that are affecting our lives as Christians. I'll leave for Andy to introduce our pastors.
Welcome, pastors. We have Reverend Bismark Agyapong Ameyaw, who is next to Patricia. He is an ordained minister with the House of Faith Ministries, Ghana. He has been an active minister for the gospel for the past 18 years. He is a prophet by calling and also a pastor. Currently, he is a senior pastor for the House of Faith Ministries in London. Reverend Enis Buschell is to my left, is the founder of Strong Tower Ministry. He was called as a pastor 22 years ago whilst in Ghana. He migrated to Italy, France, and then to the UK, when he continued to spread the gospel of Christ. He has various branches of his ministry here in the UK and in Ghana. First, on this subject matter, I would ask Reverend Bismark Ameyaw to explain your call as a pastor or your work as a pastor. Is it a calling, is it a profession, or is it a vocation?
Thank you, Counsel. I believe that the call of a pastor is a call. Ministry is not a profession, it's a call. It's God who calls. And that means that there are things that covers your call. Anybody called by God have a specific mandate. You are called with an assignment. And that means that your assignment needs to lead to you as to where you are going and whatever you do. And so a calling is not a profession. Neither is it, as it were, a vocation. But a call, anybody called by God, and you are called with an assignment, and it is something, it's a duty God has called you to do. It's a service that you give to God and to humanity. I believe that that's what it is.
Pastor Enis, what's your take on it?
I'd like to say this, a call is a mission of Elohim. That is why it has a divine purpose. Mm-hmm. So you can't relate it to profession or vocation. Mm-hmm. A call of God is the mind of God for humanity on earth. So a call is not a profession. It's a mission of Christ. That's what I can say.
Okay. I think I will leave some of the questions that I will reserve some of the questions for Patricia for now to go ahead with some of her questions. Pat, you can take it on from there.
So within your both answers that we heard from both pastors, I understand that the calling is for you to serve. Now my question is, do you also believe that some pastors are not demonstrating that calling of service, but they are rather being served instead of serving?
Of course. Even the Bible categorically says it. We have self-call. We have parental call. We have desperational call. And
if
we
you
have.
Would like to break it down.
I'll break it down. Very good.
Sorry.
Yeah, and I believe my colleague here will help me.
Yeah.
We have self-call, parental call, desperational call, the call of God, and even demonic call.
Okay.
So let me take it from self-call. Self-call is like you walk into life and you've tried everything and you realize that, no, pastors are making money. Therefore, I have to shift to this area when it comes in terms of business. So he's using the name of the Lord in business, not for the purpose of God.
Okay.
That is self-call. He sat down and realized that pastors are making money. You see, Edward Mills, Duncan Williams, wow. And at times they will take their time to visit churches, and they are there to look at certain areas like the money they get, the offering. No, then I believe if I tap this thing as profession, not as a call,
Okay.
can be able to what, survive. That is self-call. Desperational call. He's desperate to make it in life. And the only alternative is to become a pastor. That is when they're going for something. That to make people to know that no, he's a man of God. Once you perform miracles, people know anytime you perform miracles, you're a man of God. And the Lord is using you. That's one side. Parental call is when your parents realize that, you look like pastor. The way you talk when you're in the school.
Your humility.
That's it. You're so humble.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
So like you have the attributes.
You have the attribute. You have the kind of characters that prove that no, you can be a pastor, a man of God. And the parents will push you into that field whereby you've not been called to do that job.
How would you know you are called by God? How would one know? It's not a desperation call. It's not a self-call, but it's a call by Elohim, as you earlier said. How would one know one of the ethics of such a person?
Really, you see, the recall of God, many at times, it comes unaware. For instance, me, I don't have any idea to become bold. But in the course of life, I realize certain things that I don't understand. It happens in my way, in my journey of life. So you go to a time, something happened, and God rescued me.
What happened?
Very good. Let me break it down.
Right.
Okay. I was in the world, worldly life. You found ways and means to what? To get money. So I was into business. I was into so many things. I was into, using other things to what? To make things happen. Okay. You understand me? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And on the way, on that journey, it's like I had an encounter with the Lord. Let me break it down more.
Well, yes, you
have to. You see, it's like Saul was traveling to Damascus, on the journey to Damascus, to execute the Christians. He had an encounter with the Lord. Okay. He thought he was serving God because he had a religious, he was a religious person. He wasn't a Christian. So when he was going, he had an encounter with the Lord, and the Lord said, "Why do you hate me?" That means what Saul was doing is not of God. Let me use it as me. When you're in the world, you might think whatever you do, it pleases God. Because you find ways and means to survive. You want to be famous, you want to have money, you want to be more powerful, you want to be among those who are on the top. So you use so many areas to make it happen.
Are you bold enough to come up with any name of such pastors that you believe they are called or they are desperate to be calling themselves pastors and not really pastors? Would you be able to speculate one on this TV for us to know?
I wouldn't like it to happen in such a way that we are trying to target some people.
Okay. But give us attribute of such person.
So we will know as the public,
Because we believe there are so many indiscipline in the Christian religion, and we've looked at Muslim religion, we've looked at the Judaism, we've looked at Buddhist, even the traditional practices has some sort of discipline. Christians are kind of the system, the religion is that, and the discipline in it that was initially implemented is depleting. Would you say at this current stage that there are so many self-called and by desperation? Would you accept that?
Yeah,
you accept that.
Yeah.
Okay, and what can you do about it?
Very good. Let me show some of the examples. I was discussing with somebody and I said, you the person going to look for Jesus or look for Christ for a solution purpose, you are vulnerable. But the one who is vulnerable is so desperate that when they get to that point, because they are vulnerable and desperate, the only thing they want to see, miracle as what has happened. So they don't have the time to to assess the kind of spirit at work in that place.
Mm-hmm.
You understand me?
Yeah.
So some of these desperational what pastors and parental pastors and other pastors, they take advantage over these vulnerable ones. So they use other means. How possible would a pastor pray for somebody stepping on his head?
Why does it only happen in Africa? To be precise, Ghana? Why does it, that sort of directions, I'm not God and I don't understand how probably God does his sort of interpretation through directions?
I don't think it's only in Africa.
Do you think it happens in Europe?
It happens in other parts, in how they call it, Europe is happening over there, because I heard a story that a pastor cooked a whole Bible.
In Europe?
Yes, in Europe. One guy.
Would he be European or would he be a black African who has migrated into Europe?
Yeah.
It's a black man.
Thank you very much. So we are still talking about Africans orchestrating this sort of act. Why is it just Africa?
Well, I believe it comes to a point of they are desperate for money and they think that is the easiest way of using it.
So desperation for money.
That's
okay,
it, yeah.
Reverend Bismark, can we hear your views on this?
Yeah, I believe that, as my brother said, the Bible lawyers, your authority is the Constitution. And I believe as a Christian, as ministers, our authority is also the Bible. Now, the Bible has given us a clear criteria as to who is, as in quotes, using the name of God in certain differently. You go to 1 chapter 3, where God has, the Bible given us a clear understanding about the conduct and the attitude of anybody, of us who intend to be a leader or a bishop, as we call it. And it gives us the breakdown as to how the person is supposed to behave at the conduct level, which becomes a sign for anybody who goes there to look at. But of course, we're going to have in a situation where people live in a certain kind of ignorance, where they're not able to determine whether this thing is good or bad, of which you can't fault anyone of it anyway.
Why can't you fault anyone? Is it because you're not teaching it? Or would you still blame it on the government?
Yeah,
I mean, that is what normally happens, isn't it? Everything is blamed on the government. Would you at some point accept that part of pastors are part of this ignorancy?
Yeah, I wouldn't say yes, I wouldn't say no. Because the person going must also know. Ignorance is not an exception of the law, I would say. And so the person going to that church or that place needs to know where you are. You need to know.
How do you get to know?
Let's say
an unbeliever, for instance, who has just come to church.
I want to say about their fruits.
You shall know them.
You shall know them.
Okay.
So based upon how the person, because we have been called to serve, not to be served. Christ demonstrated example in John chapter 13, when he unleashed his dress, put on a towel, and he began to wash the feet of disciples. And he said to them that whatever I've done, do so among yourselves. And so we are not to be served. We are rather, our call is a call to servanthood. Every minister, whether a bishop, apostle, a prophet, an archbishop, whoever you are, your mandate is to be a servant. The first thing that we need to know. So we are being called to be served, but we are rather called to serve.
Okay. Pastor Enis referred to a certain direction. Which one of the directions? How? Because you just illustrated Jesus washed feet. If it should happen today in churches, there could be some simultaneous way of probably judging it as occultic, as most people class it. How do you receive the directions?
Well, in terms of prophetic ministry, let me just bring out.
Okay.
The prophetic ministry is one of the controversial ministries that exists. Don't forget that we have the fivefold ministry: the prophet, the apostle, the teacher, the pastor, and the evangelist. According to Ephesians chapter 4, and God gave this to the church to equip, to bring sanity and a sound biblical perception about what the church stands for. And is a whole embodiment of the church. And so God has a way he dealt with any minister based upon his giftings and abilities and callings. And so it's one of the difficult areas that become difficult to explain. Of course, directions are given by God. But if you go through the Bible, right down to from Genesis to Revelations, anywhere there were miracles, it happens only once. There's no repetition of it.
Okay.
So
Is it because there were lack of writings on it?
No. But the first time in John chapter 9, when Christ opened the eyes of the blind man, he touched him. Another time, he will spit and make the clay and tell him, go to the pool and wash yourself. Elijah, all the prophecies were once. And so when it becomes a repetition, that's the problem. When it becomes repetition. And so God can speak to you to use this cup, bless the water, and give to you to drink. Another time, God might tell a different thing. And so the moment it becomes a monument, it ceases to be a direction. That the person is using this as a means to spearhead whatever you have heard. But God does not speak once. He speaks in diverse and many ways, which we also need to understand that in the ministry of the prophetic ministry. Directions are not bad. Biblically, they are correct. But it depends on how the person does it and what he is doing, the medium and the way of communication makes it a difficult thing. There have been the cases where God directed a man of God, slapped somebody, and there was a healing. God can tell Jimmy Swaggart and David Braham and those people were used by God in a dynamic way. It wasn't wrong. God can tell you to take your shoe and stamp on somebody.
Thank
it
you.
happens once.
Once, okay. So there should be diversity.
There should be.
You as a prophet, you were actually called as a prophet, then attached it with the pastor. You were ordained as a pastor, not attaching it as a pastor, ordained as a pastor. At what point would you not repeat, because you were referring to a cup filled with water, praying over it, and then, telling someone that is the direction. Are you saying that if such direction comes the second day, or Pastor Enis is supposed to repeat that, that is not God's direction? Because you said it's just once.
No, I haven't said so.
Okay, well.
God can speak through in diverse ways.
Okay.
And so God can just tell you, do this. But it depends on the person who is receiving that instructions.
Can two pastors in the same, because obviously God can speak to two pastors in the same ministry by directing them to use the same example. So, with certain pastors calling for other ways to be used, are you now in a position to criticize it?
Well, we don't criticize. I'm not in a place to criticize.
Would you say that is wrong?
I wouldn't say yes or no.
Then why are certain pastors against such practices?
I wouldn't know. But that's what I'm saying. That
are you personally against it?
Well,
your own view.
In my view, well, that is to me. Okay, for
okay.
my view. I would say to the extreme. Yeah. In every rule there are exceptions. Like prophecies, it's only a thing that receive that you say. Yeah, things that God will show or tell you.
How would you have interpreted a direction, if so, by God, to bring underwears? How are you going to now tell your own congregants, this is what God is saying? Because you are getting to a point to say, not everything God tells you is what you have to say out. How would you interpret it?
Well, I did not receive the prophecy anyway.
How would you have interpreted it?
Listen, because I don't receive it. God will give you a second of wisdom to interpret.
Okay.
When God sent Nathan to David after Bathsheba was killed, he God told the prophet everything. But when he went there, he needed to apply wisdom to communicate. He doesn't go and just say, God said that A, B, C, D. No, because his life was in danger at that particular time. And so wisdom is also a principal thing about any call of God. And God calls you, give you divine wisdom, ability to receive what you have received and how to communicate.
So
Make the whole thing
sorry
very...
to cut you, Pastor, but from what you're saying, does that mean that those pastors that receive the prophecies and then just come out and say it in a way that people stand against it, taking for instance what Andy said about the underwords, does that mean that whoever received this prophecy lacked wisdom of communicating that to the church?
I don't want to say yes, but maybe. I don't want to say it because I don't receive the prophecy too, as I said.
But why that? This is the sort of question I ask every pastor and they shun from it. Is it right? Can you be honest and tell us, is it right?
I would say yes or no. He received the prophecy.
Okay.
And he felt that you were maybe God might have spoken to him to go direct.
Have you ever condemned it?
I have not.
Would you? I know you will not probably. You have not spoken in your mind, in your heart. You get to that. Would you condemn it?
Well, that is to be okay. That is my personal.
And that is what I want to know. Your personal.
No, but my personal judgment doesn't matter.
Pastor Enis, would you condemn it?
You see, we call something discernment. I say, God, if you're a prophet, God gives you a discernment. So before the message will come, you have to discern to know whether it's from God or not before you bring it out.
So you're saying this direction can come from other spirits?
Well, the devil also can speak. Let me tell you.
Okay.
Yeah, because I quite remember Micaiah, when he met Ahab, I had about 400 for prophet. They were deceived. But Micaiah spoke the truth, and he was arrested and put in prison. They all said Ahab will go and come safely. It was a deception. But they were prophets. So you can't be deceived. The devil also speaks. So you need the kind of spirit of discernment. So God gives you a discernment. Before the message comes down and released to the people, you have to discern to know if this message is from God or not.
Okay. And is that some of the attributes?
That is his part, yes.
Of a pastor of the calling?
Yeah, word of wisdom. If you're a man of God, especially prophetic line, it's a very delicate line that you have to be more sensitive. I tell you, if you're a prophet and you're not careful, you misinformed the messenger for God. You might take a message of the devil and speak to the people. So you should always pray that God should give you the kind of discernment. Because the devil also speaks.
I just want to ask another question in terms of how pastors communicate these prophecies and their directions. So let's take, for instance, we live in the UK. We have rules and regulations govern the country. So if a pregnant woman should come to church being sick, and you have a prophecy to pray for that pregnant lady, and you, whether by your own directions or the prophecy comes to step on the person's tummy, it will be classified as an abuse.
Let me chip in something. See, we are serving a wise God. There's something happened in the scripture. When God wanted Prophet Samuel to go and anoint David to be king over Israel, someone asked God a question. Because by that time, King Saul was still on the throne. So he said, Daddy, and if this king hears something of that sort, he will kill me. The Lord said, when he asks you, tell him you are going to perform a sacrifice in Bethlehem. Is God lying? Andy, is God lying?
I don't think God was lying. God never lies.
So, what God did,
yeah.
what is he trying to portray? Because He told him, yes, he told him, go and anoint David to be king. But someone asked God a question. Because that you know, King Saul is still on the throne. He has not been dethroned. And the Lord told Samuel that if that king asks you, tell him you are going to perform what? Normal sacrifice as usual. Was God lying?
I don't think so.
What was that?
Because God doesn't lie.
That's it. I'm talking about wisdom here. You can receive mercy from Elohim. You have to apply wisdom, as my dear pastor is saying, my colleague is saying. And it comes with discernment. So at times the Lord can reveal something to you. You have to discern, talk to God, that it will not tarnish the image of what? The kingdom work.
I do understand your point, but the point I was trying to bring up is we see these kind of, should I say, deliverance more in Africa than we see them in Europe and other part of the world. It's mainly in Africa you see what I would say kind of an abused way of delivering.
Dramatic deliverance.
You see, the things of the supernatural in the Sami are divine. And it works in the what? In a mysterious way. You see, there was a pastor in America. He had an anointing to what? When they touch you, you lose weight completely.
Instantly.
I'm telling you. And people were testifying, bringing their big pens and other things. What I want to say is that we have the, how do you call it, the literal way or the physical way of losing weight. But what I want to say is that God can do it. You understand me?
Okay.
God also can what? Can do it. It's both spiritual and physical. I want us to read, I want to read something here so that it will help us. Nehemiah chapter 2, verses 2. Something happened. And I want to say it's not everything you have to allow your spiritual emotions to take over. Or you have to allow spirit, like everything spiritual. No. We believe in the physical aspect of it too. So I want to read something. When Nehemiah was told that his father's what? Jerusalem, whatever is what, is bent up, the walls are broken. He was living with a king as a cupbearer. Let's listen to this mercy. He said, when you read Nehemiah 2:2, wherefore the king said unto me, why is thy countenance sad, seeing thou art not sick? This is nothing else but sorrow of heart. Then I was very sore afraid. 3. And said unto the king, let the king live forever. Why should not my countenance be sad, when the city, the place of my father's sepulchre, lie waste, and the gate thereof are consumed with fire? Then the king said unto me, for what doest thou make request? So I pray to God of heaven. Number 1, the king said, make some request. What do you want? You see, he prayed to God in heaven. Yeah. That's number 1. And I said unto the king, if it pleases the king, and if thy servant had found favor in thy sight, thou wouldest send me unto Judah, unto the city of my father's sepulchre, that I may build it. And the king said unto me, the queen also sitting by him, for how long shall thy journey be? And when would thou return? So it pleases the king to send me and set him a time. Moreover, I said unto the king, if it please the king, let letters, I want us to take this point very carefully, let letters be given me to the governors beyond the river, that they may convey me over till I come back. And the letter unto Asaph, the keeper of the king's forest, that he may give me timber to make beams for the gate of the palace which appertaining to the house of, and for wall and the city, for the house that I shall enter into. And the king granted me according to the good hand of my God upon me. There are two things here. He was asking for something physical. And the king said, he prayed to God, that is spiritual. He needed a visa. That letter is a permit to cross over. He never prayed and disappeared to his father's what? City. But he was given a visa. You understand me? So what I want to say is that it's not everything that should be done spiritually.
Why is it then in Africa, almost everything is spiritually?
Ignorance. As I'm saying, like, if somebody comes under you,
Yeah.
very good. Andy, you started from somewhere before reaching this period, is it?
Right.
One did not know that Andy has been in the system for 40 years. But the moment he comes under you, and the way things are booming, Andy is riding a Range Rover. He's learning. Andy, he lives in a 10-story building. The way people are coming and the way Andy mix it up. Within the shortest time, that guy who has been under you for 1 year, picking out one or two things. So Andy, it's okay. I think now you can what? Set me free. She'll go out without bits and pieces and go out and mess up what this beautiful work people are doing. Instead for him to sit down and you work on him, transform him, that you should know every loophole and how to go about the work. Because of desperation, he wants to be like you who has been in the system for 40 years. He wants to use 1 year to be like what Andy. That is the problem we're having today. He has not been called to be a pastor, but because he's following the man of God and he think he's able to pick one or two things. But this work can do it.
Why are they not stopped earlier? Why are they not stopped earlier?
That is where it comes to. The devil is backing like a lion, seeking whom? You see, don't forget we have a common enemy. Judas was with Jesus, is it?
Right.
Because of the kind of mentality he was used by the devil. The kind of motive you have will attract the enemy to come to you. If I'm working with Andy, for me to humble myself, if I start envying you.
What I mean, looking at the illustration of Judas and Jesus, according to the New Testament, then Jesus was meant to die.
For that one we know.
Because when the disciple said, "No, you will not die," Jesus, he said, "Get away, you devil," or something like that.
For that one we know.
So, would you say these malpractices, indisciplined pastors, are probably being encouraged by God for the purposes of
encouraged by God? But the point is, you see, instead for one to patiently sit under a man of God, it's God who calls. You can't. It's not even a pastor. It's not a prophet.
Just like the disciples.
That is, it's God
they
who
were
calls.
with Jesus for a long time.
He called them.
Elisha was with Elijah
That is it.
for a time. Okay.
You know, we have a permissive call.
Okay.
It happened like King Saul. So the people forced God. They put pressure on him. It was a permissive call. It wasn't a will of God to call Saul. So they forced him to bring in that man. And later, it was terrible. So we have permissive calls. You have been permitted. If you permit me to use your car, and
right.
you give me time, is it?
Right. Would you then agree that the beautiful work of the Christian religion should be regulated by government?
In some way, it's yes or no.
So what's your stand for the yes and your stand for no?
Because it's a divine work of God. Understand me? And if that thing will happen, it's because of the way, it's because of the pollution. Let me use this word, because of pollution. So what the Christian body can do, that is the problem we have now. There's division among us because of
Because of what?